Looking for a fun way to win 25 times your money this football and basketball season? Test your skills on Prize Picks, the most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Just select 2 or more players, pick more or less on their projection for a wide variety of stats, and place your entry. It's as easy as that. If you have the skills, you can turn $10 into $250 with just a few taps. Easy gameplay, quick withdrawals, and injury insurance on your picks are what make Prize Picks the #1 daily fantasy sports app. Ready to test your skills? Join the Prize Picks community of more than 7 million players who have already signed up. Right now, Prize Picks will match your first deposit up to $100. Just visit prizepicks.com/play100 and use code play100. That's code play100 at prizepicks.com/play100 for a first deposit match up to $100. Prize Picks, daily fantasy sports made easy.
Welcome to the Augusta Golf Show podcast. Now, here's John Patrick.
David Feherty has played the game at the highest levels. He's covered the game for CBS, NBC, Golf Channel. He now covers Live Golf. He'll be in town performing the Wednesday of Masters week next year. It is a pleasure to welcome David Feherty to the Augusta Golf Show for the very first time. Hello, David. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you, John.
I know you don't do this sort of thing very often, so thank you so very much for doing this.
No, it's a pleasure.
How do you describe the show? Is it a one-man show? Is it a stand-up? When somebody asks you, what do you do on stage? How do you describe it?
Well, it is a one-man show, and it's a mixture of stand-up and storytelling. And I tell stories in black and white, back from the days that were, when the stories that people like Pat Summerall and Ken Venturi, have told me over the years. And if I don't keep telling these stories, they're going to die. They're going to disappear into the ether, and they're really worth telling. And it's also, it's a journey through my life. From primary school to, playing for a living for 20 years and then, being in the broadcast industry for 30. There's a lot of funny things, have happened. And, those are the things that I shared during the show.
Did you come up with the idea of going on the road, or did you have to be talked into this?
I had to be talked into it. I would do these corporate things, for companies and I would tell stories for 45 minutes or an hour. And I was doing one in Canada, in London, Ontario, and there happened to be a comedy promoter in the audience. And he approached me afterwards and said, "Have you ever thought about doing this on stage?" And I said, "Well, I thought that's what I just did." And he said, "No, in a theater." And Brad Jones from Jones Entertainment, has promoted Larry the Cable Guy and Jeff Dunham, various other comedians and country music acts. So he was, well used to doing this. And he suggested that I do it. And I started it in Canada. One in Edmonton and one in Calgary, and 1,600 people showed up. And for the first show, I went for 3.25 hours. I had no concept of time at all, and I used pretty much all of my material. But then we started doing them in the United States, and I've done around 200 shows in theaters around the country, and people keep showing up, so I'm going to keep doing them.
What did you think, David, that you would get out of doing this, and what do you get out of doing this?
It may be the most satisfying thing that I do. There's an adrenaline rush. I mean, I'm terrified, John, every time I step out onto the stage. It's me, a spotlight and a microphone, and I've got to be entertaining for 2 hours, and there's always part of me that thinks, this could be the night I'll choke. So, what I get out of it is a lot of love from the audience. I've been really, really lucky in my career. I can't tell you how lucky I've been. both my playing career and my broadcasting career, to have met the people that I've met, and, to have been with, these people and spent time with them, and, have the stories that have come out of those meetings. And, that's really what I get out of it. There's an adrenaline rush that comes with, performing. And people, you see it in, perform. My wife just went to see Rod Stewart. Mm-hmm. And, he's addicted to applause, or whatever it is. There's no other reason, to do it, if you've been doing it for that long. And I love the feeling of making people happy and, giving them a laugh.
Looking for a fun way to win up to 25 times your money this football season? Test your skills on Prize Picks, the most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Just select 2 or more players, pick more or less on their projection for a wide variety of statistics, and place your entry. It's as easy as that. If you have the skills, you can turn $10 into $250 with just a few taps. Easy gameplay, quick withdrawals, and an enormous selection of players and stat options are what make Prize Picks the #1 daily fantasy sports app. Ready to test your skills? Join the Prize Picks community of more than 7 million football fans who have already signed up. Right now, Prize Picks will match your first deposit up to $100. Just visit prizepicks.com/get100 and use code GET100. That's code GET100 at prizepicks.com/get100 for a first deposit match up to $100. Prize Picks, daily fantasy sports made easy.
David, I saw you do the show probably, 9 years ago at the PGA Merchandise Show.
All right.
And afterwards, you sat in a chair and answered questions from the audience. Do you still do that?
Yes. Yeah, the last 15 minutes of the show, 15 or 20 minutes, is Q&A. And that's one of my favorite parts of it, because the audience always reminds me of things that I've left out. And, there's that personal interaction because I want them to know that I love them. That's the opportunity to make that known.
You mentioned this earlier in our conversation. One of the big takeaways I had from seeing you do this is you don't have to be a huge fan of golf to enjoy the show. You make it a well-rounded show. I assume that's purposeful on your part.
Yeah, it is. You don't have to be a golfer to, understand Irish humor. We're the last ethnic group on the planet, I think, where you can't offend us. There's nothing offensive about Irish jokes or Irish stereotypes. Irish people just don't take themselves that seriously. There's a lot of humor in there that, just the average non-golfer can relate to.
Again, you mentioned your life. Do you sit back and assess, David, where you are in your life and that golf has taken you to some incredible spots and places through your life?
Yeah, it has. And, and there have been peaks and valleys
Sure.
in my life as well, at times where I've been very ill, and I do go into the mental illness, and addiction side of things as well. There's humor to be found in everything. I'm 65 now, and before the Live Golf League came up, I thought that I was retiring, and it just the opportunities keep presenting themselves to me as my life goes on, and who knows where it's going to finish. I'm just going to keep riding this pony.
How hard was it for you to make the decision in these shows to talk about mental health?
It was never difficult, John, because it's therapeutic to me. The thought, and I get people coming up to me after the show and saying, listen, thank you, that they've had similar problems, and it's nice to hear from someone in the public eye who'll admit to these things, or someone that has lost a child. I lost my son 6 years ago to a cocaine overdose, and People just share their stories, and it makes me feel better. The thought that I can make them feel better.
We have a mutual friend in John Feinstein. He's the one who put us together. Just did a biography on you. Were you pleased with how all of that came out? Can you be pleased with how all of that comes out?
I didn't read it. I have a policy. I have virtually no Twitter presence. I mean, I don't know. I've got like 600,000 or 700,000 followers, but I don't. I tweet very, very seldom, and I don't read them. I don't read, magazine articles or articles about myself. I mean, I did see the galleys of the book, and my wife kind of fact-checked them for me. And the only person that I was worried about was her, whether or not she liked the book. That's the important thing to me, and she did.
How do you spend your days, David, when you're not working? Do you these days when we look at streaming television and binging things, do you watch television much? Yeah,
I do. I watch a lot of TV, a lot of Netflix, Amazon Prime, Hulu, that kind of thing. And a lot of people don't know about me. I have a foundation for wounded veterans, Troops First Foundation. And I'm kind of an amateur gunsmith. I make rifles, bolt-action rifles for, wounded veterans. I was getting, in the early days of the foundation, I would get snipers that would come in, and they were sometimes some of the worst affected, of the non-injured. I would say, it takes a tremendous toll on someone when you have to take someone else's life. And, just to get them back into target shooting and back into something badass, because these guys are a lot of them, they're great soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines, but they're really not very good civilians. They've been in, the armed forces for so long, and that structured setting that, when they come out, they have difficulty in adapting into civilian life. So at the foundation, we try and help them do that. And, just part of it is, my hobby, which is, making rifles.
You're a good man, David Feherty.
Well, I don't know.
He is David Feherty. He will be here in town the Wednesday of Masters Week performing. David, thank you so very much for being gracious with your time. I deeply appreciate it.
It's a pleasure, John, and I can't wait to get back to Augusta. I love the tournament. I love the town, and I'm really looking forward to seeing the theater.